Hello and welcome to Geography Now Ukraine. The reaction from Faceless guy here on my YouTube channel. I have a few videos I want to react to in this video. On the one side, of course, the video Geography Now Ukraine, which was uploaded 23 minutes ago. Then, the Ukrainian-Russian conflict in 10 minutes, also from Geography Now. And then from Democracy Now, Ukrainian pacifist reckless militarization led to this war. All sides must recommit to peace. Then I have an article here in English. Will have the English translation. I will put the originally a link to the German website and the translation in the description. Recruits between fear and sense of duty. It is very depressing to read this because the poor man and it's only men who have to serve in the army. And are conscripted. So the poor men in Ukraine between the age of 18 and 60, which do not want to fight but have to fight because they are conscripted and forced to fight in the war. Conscription is in general something I think which is against any kind of human rights. So it's a kind of war against humanity to force someone to fight in the war. In my opinion, it is completely cruel and unright. It's nothing which would ever happen, and it's not justifiable. So, but that's something else. It's we come to this later. First, the video itself. I hope you will enjoy it. Remember that it's my opinion only. You can write your own opinion in the comments. Stay friendly, of course. And we can discuss these things. If someone just says to me, "Hey, you are just serving Putin, you are a Putin troll," then I don't know what to say. It is stupid, but I mean, there are people who are stupid in the world. So, of course, you can believe this, but then you can also believe in the flat disk Earth floating in space, and it's also something people believe in, and it's something, yeah, you can. It's stupid, but you can believe in this. At the end of the day, I cannot convince you if you are already this deep into your own opinion. So, I am a pacifist. I don't support either Ukraine nor Russia. I want this war to end as soon as possible. But that's something else. We come to this later in the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you are interested in geography and peace and someone from Germany reacting to stuff in the world. Yeah, let's go and watch this video. I'm very curious, and I hope it will be awesome and as neutral as possible. Let's take a look. The other videos I will react to later. So, let's do it.
Okay, so I made a video.
Moment. It's a full best quality. I will wait with liking the video. I think it will be good. The other videos were great. The video about the conflict and the video also where he visited Ukraine were all awesome. So I assumed it will be also great. But yeah, let's see. A full screen. I mean, of course, you can't answer to me now, but should I make full screen and make my webcam? I think I will probably not to have a webcam in this video. At least not in this part of the video. Maybe in the other videos I will make a full screen. I think this video deserves a full screen. So let's do this.
Okay, so I made a video explaining the Ukraine-Russia conflict in 10 minutes. I made a Geography Go video where I actually went to Ukraine. Now there's only one thing left to do. The actual Ukraine episode.
And your intro even, I think. I look forward for many countries which come in the next weeks, months or so, like United Kingdom and United States as well, but Ukraine is also a very interesting video, hopefully. And the new intro, let's see.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Get your Geography Now merch, like this Geography Now t-shirt or mug at Geography Now.
Maybe I will also buy one of his merch at some point. I have never bought any merch of any YouTuber, but yeah, maybe I will make an exception for him. Let's see.
now.com. It's like McDonald's, you know, we only have like 10 things on the website. It's not that hard to choose. In any case, it's not selling out if it's your brand. Gonna put the mug away. So as you guys know, I actually went to Ukraine. Thank you to visitukraine.today. They wanted to sponsor me to not only go to Ukraine, but also to learn more about their country, despite it being in the middle of a war. And also thank you, United 24 Media.
Thank you. I mean, it's a video where he went to Ukraine, but it was also interesting. So yeah. I will probably never visit Ukraine, I think, but if I ever have the chance, and it's long after this war is over, and then maybe, I mean, I should not be too much against any country in the world. So also the United States and Ukraine are on the list of countries I want to visit under certain conditions.
They also helped me get some great footage and interviews with some exclusive people that you'll see in this video. And speaking of guests, as you know, I love having guest hosts from the country. And with that, say hi to Mr. Misha, our Ukrainian correspondent.
Hello.
How you doing, Misha?
Good, how are you?
Anything you want to just say about Ukraine to the world out there?
Yes, I bring you some really cool flag. You can read actually in Ukrainian as a freedom. V, this is L, this is O, and Ya. Voля.
Moment. Okay. I of course I can't read Ukrainian or Cyrillic, but yeah. But I guess you can see it inside the flag. I'm also not sure this symbol is there are many symbols you see these days from on Ukrainian flag or in general in combination with Ukraine. So I'm sometimes not sure what is something what the symbols represent. Some symbols are of course also right or Nazi symbols, but I don't think that this is something of this. I mean, it's just Cyrillic. Interesting. And when I say something about symbols, which I do not know, and confused with symbols I know, like the wolf's angel or this kind of stupid symbol, then correct me in the comments. Yeah, interesting.
In Ukrainian, freedom.
We'll explain more about this in Flag Fan Day and all this. So yeah, you ready to start the episode?
Yes,
Let's do
I
it.
am.
Let's do it. Wow, you have really white teeth. So Ukraine is a complicated country, and not just in a contemporary sense, but like in a every possible way sense.
And it's definitely not easy to summarize, especially the part we are about to get into.
Yeah, the physical geography. Let's see. I'm curious. I'm interested.
Little disclaimer, we will be portraying what is internationally recognized and constitutionally part of Ukraine as per the Belozheva Accords and the Budapest Memorandum post-USSR breakup.
With that, here's the motion graphic.
First of all, Ukraine is the largest country entirely within Europe, located in the eastern part of the continent, bordering 7 countries with the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov in the south. The country's capital and largest city is Kiev, located in the north-central...
I mean, I see that they have included Crimea, but in a different way than that they included the annexed territories in eastern Ukraine, Donetsk, Luhansk, and the other two, and I forgot their names, which Russia annexed in the war. But Ukraine, Crimea has a different color and is also included in the borders, but in a different way than those annexed territories during the war. So, yeah, it is probably more recognized as part of Russia than the occupied territories in the east. But let's see. I'm interested. It's I have heard also from other people like Hassan Abi. Hassan Abi said this in the video that Poles made from Western countries after the annexion and things in 2014 of Crimea. On the Crimean Peninsula have consistently brought the result that the people there are happy with the situation like it is in the moment. So I have not polled myself the data, but I heard it being said, and yeah. So let's see. Maybe they will also mention something about this or in the video.
part of the country. Just outside the city, on the east side of the river, lies the largest and busiest international airport that services Kyiv, Boryspil International. However, there is a more localized, smaller airport near the city center on the west bank of the river, Giuliani International. From there, the second and third largest cities, Kharkiv and Odessa, host the second and third largest and busiest airports, Odessa and Kharkiv International. Keep in mind, as of the onset of the Ukraine-Russia war, all air travel has been suspended and grounded until further notice, and the only way to enter into the country is either by land transport from all surrounding countries other than Russia and Belarus, as well as the Russian military-occupied region of Transnistria in eastern Moldova. Travel via Black Sea to the port of Odessa is also possible, but has come with a degree of precaution during conflict times due to the proximity of Russian involvement on the Crimean Peninsula. Speaking of which, subdivision-wise, the country is made up of 24 oblasts, one autonomous republic, Crimea, and two special status cities of Kyiv and Sevastopol. Now here's where things get more complicated. Even before conflict times, Sevastopol was considered a separate administrative entity from the rest of Crimea, which was already labeled as autonomous, and was even a closed city during the Cold War. As of 2014, Russian forces have annexed the Crimean Peninsula and special status city of Sevastopol, which currently hosts Russia's naval Black Sea Fleet. In 2016, Russia started constructing Europe's longest bridge, the Crimea Bridge, a 12-mile, 19-kilometer long bridge that spans across the Kerch Strait. Effectively, this connected
I've heard of this bridge. It looks very impressive, and it was blown up at some point, or some parts of it. Maybe it got also repaired by now. I think it got. I'm not sure, but I'm moment says bombing in 2022 halted traffic until it could be reconstructed. Okay, it was repaired, so good that he mentions this in the video.
Russia with the Crimean Peninsula for the first time. To this day, only 8 heads of state of 8 countries have announced recognition of the Crimean Peninsula belonging to Russia.
Okay, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Nicaragua, North Korea, Sudan, Syria, which is I think, yeah, Russia do something, Syria does the same, allied, and Venezuela. So either countries which are not very good relations with the United States, or allied with Russia. Makes sense so far. And there's something I have to mention about this, which happened after the Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. Ukraine blocked the only possible way to bring drinking water to Crimea, and this is even with the situation something very cruel and unusual. I have not heard of anything like this before, but yeah, it was dried out the peninsula. So so much to Crimea caring. Ukraine caring about the people on Crimea. But Russia bombed the dam. I think so. Water is coming in again. I think I'm not sure how the situation is with this water situation on Crimea, but it was very terrible at a certain time.
Whereas the rest of the world either does not recognize it or still recognizes it as distinctly part of Ukraine. In addition, the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts had military-armed Russian-backed separatists that seized government buildings and claimed their own republic status. Later in 2022, Russia announced that they would annex them, and in what the United Nations General Assembly...
Also 2014, I think, was the same year when also those two oblasts declared independence from Ukraine. I think it was also the same year. And there's something, why not let people, when they don't want to be a part of a country, become their own country, become their own nations. Like Kosovo declared also independence from Serbia. And yeah, I don't understand why you should not let this happen. And then there was a civil war between those two oblasts and the rest of Crimea. Is from 2014 to when the war between Russia and Ukraine started.
labeled as an attempted illegal annexation. Since 2014's Crimean Peninsula annexation, Ukraine has been in an ongoing war with Russia, and in 2022, Russian forces have entered and occupied parts in the east and south of Ukraine. There was an attempt in the north, but Ukraine was able to regain territory, and as of making this video, the situation is ongoing and ever-changing. Yeah, Ukraine's domain is definitely a topic of long discussion.
And by the way, it's Kiev, not Kiev. Kiev, it's a Russian version of Ukrainian capital, Kiev.
Also, you might hear
How? Moment, it's the name of the capital. Maybe I have to listen to it again.
Ukraine's domain is definitely a topic of long discussion.
And by the way, it's Kiev, not Kiev.
So it's Kiev and not Kiev. Kiev with J. Okay.
Kiev, it's a Russian version of Ukrainian capital, Kiev.
Also, you might hear the term Donbas.
But to be honest, I have not heard such a big difference. So is it with is just the writing different, or I have not heard such a big difference in the pronunciation, but maybe it is also because the language sounds very similar. I also had someone from Poland speaking to me at some point earlier, a year ago or so, and when she was this person was calling on the phone in Polish with someone. She was from Poland, so it makes sense. But after she finished her call, I asked her, "Hey, did you speak Russian? Because it sounds similar. Polish sounds similar to Russian in my eyes." Yes. So yeah, forgive me when I have not this kind of I don't hear much differences between these languages. Probably because I'm not from one of the countries.
Quite a bit, referring to the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts furthest on the east bordering Russia. The name is a portmanteau of the word Donetsk Basin.
Donbas, it's the front line of Ukrainian fight. Historically, in the past, Donbas was one of the most industrialized area in Ukraine.
So how did all this crazy stuff happen?
He will explain this, and I will also react to this in the other video. I mean, yeah, this video here. The Ukraine-Russia conflict in 10 minutes. I just think about shall I react to the other video right now? I'm not even sure if I should react to this. I definitely recommend you to watch it because it really explains it in a very well way. It's very good, this video, I want to say. I had other people also not complaining. I don't think that they complained, but mentioning that my English is not the best, but I give my best. I give my best with my English. So, and yeah, but let's continue.
Not easy to explain. The whole conflict wasn't just a 2002 issue. You have to go back in time.
Oh, you mean like the 2014 Euromaidan protests?
Annexation of Crimea? The Donbass separatist wars too?
Well, those some things led to it.
Or do you mean the 2008 Yushchenko political crisis?
Or the 2004 Orange Revolution?
Well, I mean...
Oh, no, wait, let me guess. You're bringing this back to the Soviet collapse and all those accords that were signed in the 90s.
That played a huge role, but...
Wait, is this about Khrushchev handing over Crimea in 1954?
I mean, if you want to add that in there, then fine, but that's not exactly...
Pre-Soviet? Really?
Oh, you have no idea how far back this...
It goes back probably a lot more. I mean, it goes back much more deeper into history than just 1990 or 1950 M4.
conflict is going.
Basically, I made a video covering this topic, so we don't have time to spend 80 years scratching the surface. Reference videos are a great way to save time. High five, yeah.
Historically, Ukraine was occupied by the different civilization through the history.
In fact, the oldest excavated culture being the mysterious Neolithic Trypillian culture.
Crimean Peninsula was part of so many different empires in the past.
It was the furthest extent of the Golden Horde, you know, back in the 13th century.
Wait a second, hold up. Did you just say that part of Ukraine was Mongol?
A little more complicated than that.
I think it was also Crimea was also at some point, or at least parts of Crimea, were at some point also part of the Roman Empire. So, if you want to go back into time far enough, then I mean, as a successor state, Turkey, successor state of the East Roman Empire, You could also argue that Turkey has now the right to for Crimea to be a part of its country because of the old Roman Empire. I mean, if you go back far enough in time, then yeah. Or the Mongols also, maybe.
More like a Kipchak Turkicized offshoot version of them, but technically kind of yes.
Crimea River.
In any case, it wasn't until the 9th century that the Kievan Rus was established, and it was essentially the home of the Eastern Slavs.
The word Rus was invented by Viking for the Slavs. If you know your Nordic history, basically went like this.
I'm going west. Well, I'm going east. I guess I'll go north?
Okay, that's enough history. Let's talk about something else. Famous places.
Famous places, yes. And who better to do it than some actual Ukrainians? Here you go.
Hi guys, my name is Tony.
Hi guys, my name is Maria.
Here are just some of
By the way, it has nothing to do with anything, but I also met some Ukrainian people a few weeks or so ago. Nice people.
famous places, 8 UNESCO heritage sites.
Moment.
Here are just some of famous places, 8
Ancient city, St. Sophia, Cathedral, Liev, residence of both wooden ancient. Okay. Interesting.
UNESCO heritage sites.
Including the first one, St. Sophia Cathedral, the oldest cathedral in Eastern Slavic countries. Kiev features Clavera.
I mean, of course, there's also a cathedral in Moscow, and it also has this little, I don't know how to call it, this, the tops, the towers, the things. It is different, but interesting. So is this something Orthodox? Kind of building this church in this way? A style, Orthodox style?
Lavra is a large and important monastery.
Odessa city, and Odessa has Potemkin stairs. We have our own Statue of Liberty, yeah, that's right.
We have the Love Tunnel.
I have seen this
Statue of Liberty,
interesting Statue of Liberty, by the way.
yeah, that's right.
We have the Love.
I have seen this before. It is, I think, forbidden to go there right now, or even maybe before. It has nothing to do with the conflict. I think it was closed for public also before, and I'm not mistaken. But it looks very amazing.
Tunnel. Baturin was once the capital of the Cossack hetman on the left side of Ukraine.
Sofiivka Park, yeah, Sofiivka Park, beautiful in spring and summer. We have so many castles and fortresses in Ukraine.
Motherland Monument in Kiev. The
So many castles and fortresses in Ukraine.
Motherland Monument. It's also funny. That's very funny. I mean, because Motherland monument. Okay. There's a Motherland Court statue in Volgograd in Russia. I'm not sure if it has a similar history. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just funny because Motherland comes in both words, but here Motherland, okay. Is it in Ukrainian, on Ukrainian? I mean, it's a statue, or the monument is not called Motherland, but probably something in Ukrainian. Is it there also Motherland? Or is it just a translation?
Monument in Kiev, the ancient Baba stones.
And finally, Chernobyl. To this day, 2,600 square kilometers, exclusion zone, deemed unsafe for habitation.
But people are still curious and love to visit, and has become a top tourist destination in the recent years.
And
It's funny that this kind of thing, like a nuclear reactor which exploded, is now a tourist attraction thing. A bit weird, but interesting.
Forget about Pripyat.
Pripyat, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the city inside.
Yeah.
And hope you can visit Ukraine.
Yeah, Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Slava Nazi.
Thank you, Tony and Maria.
Hey, did you know Ukraine might have the geographic center of Europe, the village Dilove?
I have heard Slavi Ukraini also mentioned or saw this thing before. I had also always the idea or the feeling that this is something from the Azov battalion or some other right-wing people using this term, but I'm not sure. I have never heard this being said by anyone except this kind of type people. But interesting. Slavi Ukraine. What does this mean exactly? Yeah, tell me in the comments what it exactly means translated to English.
Oh no, I actually been. It's a forest and crossing the tip.
Hey, I did that. Okay, gone. So there you go, a complicated map with complicated backstory and even more complicated mode of operating itself.
Ukraine is not a simple country.
No, it's not. But one thing that does seem to be quite simple is the landscape of Ukraine.
It's a little bit flat.
A little bit, most of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, let's move on.
Physical geography.
So on the surface,
they have new intros and new videos in between. I think it's nice.
Ukraine looks like mostly flat country with a little bit of fluctuation topography.
But it goes so much more deeper than just farms. Ukraine's land is an absolute resource powerhouse that feeds not only themselves, but much of Europe. We'll talk about that soon. In the meantime, here's the motion graphic. For one, the majority of Ukraine lies on the East European plain. This is an enormous stretch of generally flat plains and plateaus that extend all the way to what are considered the geographic borders of what constitute Europe along the Ural and Caucasus Mountains. Within Ukraine, the landscape essentially slopes downward west to east, starting in the furthest southwestern part of the country where you can find the highest elevation in the Carpathian Mountains. Here you can also find the tallest peak, Hoverla, in the Zakarpattia Oblast. The Crimean Peninsula is the only other place that has a notable mountain range within the country, averaging around 1,500 meters high. The peninsula is only connected via the Perekop Isthmus, which at its narrowest is only about 3 miles or 5 kilometers wide. Otherwise, the rest of the peninsula is separated by shallow lagoons and bays, with the 70-mile, 112-kilometer-long skinny Arabat Spit, or the Arabat Arrow, a barrier island that separates the Sibash Lagoon from the Sea of Azov. From there, you have the Podolian and Dnieper uplands in the north, the Polesian lowland and Dnieper lowlands across the longest river of the country, the Dnipro River, that essentially bisects the country in half, emptying into the Black Sea near the city of Kherson. The Dnipro River is the lifeline of the country, containing several hydroelectric power stations and dams that have effectively created 6 reservoirs along its banks, which is why it looks like such a fat, wide river on maps and satellite images. In terms of freshwater lakes, the country has tons and tons of small ponds and lakes along their forests and plains. However, the largest inland body of freshwater would be Lake Yalpa in the Odessa Oblast, not far from the Danube River that separates them from Romania. Yes, that is correct. Ukraine is the last country the mighty Danube River gets to encounter before it drains into the Black Sea.
And speaking which, if you're afraid of deep water, probably the best place where you can learn how to swim is Azov Sea, because it's so shallow, you can walk in hours and hours and hours and it's never get deep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In any case, although most of the country is flat, it is loaded with export material. And you guys really love your coffee. Like, I went to Lviv. I believe Lviv has more cafes per capita than anywhere else in the world. There's like over 1,500 cafes.
Yeah, and the coffee in Lviv, it's amazing.
This how they made this with the coffee warm, or I don't know what they did with this with fire things there, but it looked amazing.
And speaking of coffee, it's time for my triple shot espresso break. And with that, here's Noah to explain a little bit more on the trade sector. Take it away, Noah.
All right, Jogger peeps, time to make sure that you know a few things. As an agricultural powerhouse, Ukraine is often touted as the breadbasket of Europe, as they have a huge share of wheat and barley exports. They are also often ranked the #1 producer of sunflower seeds in the world. This is because about 2/3 of their land is arable, and much of it blessed with the rich Chernozem soil. It is characterized by its dark black color containing high percentages of phosphorus and humus, perfect for crop cultivation.
Hummus?
Not hummus. It's soil made of decomposed organic material rich in nutrients and has a high moisture.
I've also heard that the soil of Ukraine is one of the biggest reasons for many different people groups to want to have influence on the country. I mean, like the United States and maybe also like Russia. They want the resources and the rich soil. I mean, Russia also has some of the soil. I think of this in the area, but I think also a big part is in Ukraine. So, of course, geography and the Earth doesn't care about borders. So, this rich soil is also found, I think, in Russia, but I'm not sure how much is found in Ukraine and how much in Russia. So, but it is very good soil. I have heard of this before.
Retention.
Organic material with high moisture? I mean, that's not that far off from hummus.
Sure, whatever.
Can you make humus out of hummus?
You don't get to talk anymore. In any case, despite having a mixed economy made up of industry, energy, mining, and manufacturing sectors, they have remained one of the lowest income nations in all of Europe and is classified as a lower middle income economy. This is due to many factors such as hyperinflation in the 90s, monetary expansion due to government spending. The largest hit, though, would have to be their cutting of ties to their former largest trading partner, Russia. Since then, their trade with the EU has increased dramatically, mostly going through Poland. Ukraine is also a mining powerhouse, hosting about 90 different minerals, 20 of which are economically significant. Today, Ukraine operates 4 nuclear power plants, including the largest in Europe in Zaporizhia. There used to be 5 plants, but we all know about the Chernobyl disaster in 1986.
There's an interesting, the elephant's foot. Probably you have heard of this, but this kind of mix between concrete and other material which made it through one of the reactor rooms and down into the basement. There's a whole video about this. It looks amazing. It's scary but amazing.
The largest nuclear accident to date. Nobody is allowed to move or give birth there. However, a few elderly inhabitants are allowed to remain in their original homes where they live quietly and receive aid. Weirdly enough, this actually became one of Ukraine's largest tourist destinations post-Soviet breakup. It was like,
It's so sad, so devastating.
Hey, can I see it?
This isn't a joke, we have to block it off.
But I'm a disaster enthusiast. I'll pay you a lot of money.
Okay, give me your money.
and that's how that industry started. They also have their own domestic automobile manufacturing.
It sounds really weird. Why should you go there?
Plants and brands.
I mean, maybe I would do the same, but it would be not too dangerous. But it still sounds very weird.
The largest being Zaz, or Zaporizhian autos. In addition, Ukraine is one of the 9 countries with a full cycle of aerospace hardware engineering and production. They're probably most famous for their production of large-scale Antov and Ruslan cargo transport jets, including the AN-225 Mriya, the largest transport aircraft ever created. Unfortunately, on February 24, 2022, it was destroyed in a Russian attack while parked in a hangar at the Antonov airport. Plans have been made to rebuild it, though. That was a lot of heavy detail. However, one person that always lightens a heavy mood would be our resident animal correspondent, Gary Harlow. Let's roll.
Gary Harlow here. Time to fly into this like a Ukraine. First of all, Ukraine is a treasure trove of flora. You can find the national flower marigolds everywhere, and thanks to the treasure trove of flora, you can find
The flower looks very beautiful. Red and yellow. I like those colors.
Find the national flower marigolds everywhere, and thanks to the cooler, wet climate, Ukraine is able to harbour over 6,600 species of identified fungi and many more probably still undiscovered. It really is the mushroom kingdom. Oh no, the Nintendo missiles are coming! In some of the forest and mountain regions, animals like wolves, brown bears, lynxes, martens and boars can be found. Birds are a huge part of Ukraine's ecosystem. Over 100 species are either native or migrate to Ukraine. If a little egret or white stork make a nest on a telephone pole or on top of your house, it is said to be good luck. It's like, you have been chosen for my blessing. The national animal though is the nightingale, known for being able to mimic sounds it hears and repeat them back. They would be like, you have been chosen for my blessing. Oddly enough, due to the lack of human activity, animals are repopulating and thriving in Chernobyl. Even the famous Chevalsky horse, one of the most endangered in the world, known for their shorter, stockier, chunkier bodies. Speaking of short and chunky, I've got a baby daughter to feed. Cheers, mates!
Thanks, Gary. Speaking of mushrooms, a favorite pastime of many Ukrainians is mushroom picking in the forest, as many of the species are edible.
It's interesting. Mushroom Kingdom. I don't eat much mushrooms, but it sounds interesting.
and used in their cuisine. The cuisine of Ukraine is definitely worth it. To talk more about it, we have a very special guest star, possibly the most famous chef in Ukraine, Mr. Klopotenko. Take it away to the food!
Introduce yourself.
So, my name is Yevgen Klopotenko. I'm Ukrainian chef and I'm the guy who is changing the food culture in Ukraine, and I'm trying to put Ukraine on the world's map.
Also, stand up, show your pants.
That's my pants.
The Cossack
Yeah.
pants.
So the most famous appetizer is like our pork fat or salo, because we were not using a lot of butter. The most important dish for the Ukrainian cuisine, it's a borscht. It's our main dish, and now it's from the 1st of July of 2022. It's a World Heritage dish. Next dish is called sirniki. We're just frying that, and it's very nice. So the third dish, it's called dumplings, or we call it vareniki. But in
I have heard only from borscht, but the other dishes are completely new to me.
Ukraine, it's very famous to use the sour cherry and the poppy seeds. Chicken Kiev.
Oh, I love chicken.
Yeah, chicken Kiev, chicken fillet, and inside it has a butter and some dill normally.
Can you cook chicken Kiev with salo? I would try that. That would be super Ukrainian.
No, it will be super fat.
So?
So I mean, you also Kiev cake, some kind of meringue with the nuts. Kvass is our, it's like fermented bread drink, and we're putting this kvass on top of the meat. It's called vereshchaka.
Last question: favorite dish you can cook?
Me?
Do you have a signature dish?
Borscht. If you want to touch borscht, you have to touch me. Touch me.
I
You feel it.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Explain the
you.
food.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, chef. And with that, I will take my leave. Back to you, Barbs.
Thank you, Noah.
Yeah, also Ukraine have a quiet culture around the bread.
From my research, you guys have over...
I mean, Eastern Europe and I think also Russia may probably has much more this dark bread thing than any other Western countries or other continents. So I like this very much. Also Poland, I think, maybe also Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. Maybe also the Nordic countries. I'm not sure, but it's this not this white bread, not baguette like the French people eat. This darker bread, and I like it very much.
80 kinds of ritual breads.
Oh, my mom also, she cooked this bread. It's called korovai, and it's now become an intangible heritage
of
Ukraine.
Well, in any case, just like the food, the people of Ukraine have so many unique traits and flavors to them. Let's discuss that.
This will be also very interesting, this segment, I think. I think I'm not sure how it is in the moment, but I think at least a few years ago, maybe even today, the largest amount of people of Ukrainians outside of the country was in Russia, at least until a few years ago, maybe even today. I'm not sure. Also, the largest amount of Russians outside of Russia was in Ukraine. Also at least a few years ago, and I'm not sure how it is today, but it's interesting. Let's see.
So, Misha, your opinion, what is a Ukrainian person?
It's a person who have a Ukrainian heart, no matter where you live, no matter who you are, what color.
I think it's I will continue with the video in a moment, but I think to be borders are stupid. Any borders are stupid, and I think it would be best if there would not be any borders at all and no countries at all. You know the song John Lennon, Imagine? He also describes this kind of world where there are no borders, no countries. There's no difference between someone who lives, let's say, in Kharkiv, in eastern Ukraine, and I don't know, a city in western Russia, but so just a few kilometers apart. Let's imagine there's a city on the Ukrainian border side and on the Russian border side, or any other countries as well. The people are exactly the same, but the country separates them. It's weird sometimes, and yeah, that's why this this borders is something of course humans made, and I think they sometimes did a really bad job with making these borders. Yeah, but the people are everywhere the same.
I live in US, I live here, but I still have a deep attachment to the culture and
when I would live somewhere else. Maybe even when I would have been born somewhere else. But my parents were German, also I would have no connection to this country. If I would now imagine I would move to the United Kingdom and live there for 20 years, I would not have any connections back to Germany. I mean, I would have family there maybe, but I would not say that I would, feel like a German. I would, I don't know, feel close to German culture. But yeah, that's my opinion. I think it's weird.
People.
You can take the Ukrainian out of Ukraine, but you can't take the Ukraine out of them.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So Ukraine's population has gone through major fluctuations over the past 3 decades. Their population actually peaked in 1993 at 52 million. However, factors like mass emigration and for a while having a higher death rate than a birth rate made Ukraine's population decline sharply. And also, depending on which census you rely on, population statistics of Ukraine might conflict because some include or don't include Crimea and the Donbas Oblast of Donetsk and Luhansk.
As of 2023, Russia has annexed over 90% of Luhansk Oblast and half of the Donetsk Oblast, including the capital Donetsk.
With all that taken into account, due to the conflict times displacing people across the country, ethnic group numbers have fluctuated and there's no concrete way of getting exact numbers, but this is the general demographic makeup I got by averaging out numbers from as many sources as I could find. Here we go. The population of Ukraine as of 2023 is around 42 million, which is a rough estimate that includes the returned diaspora, but also does not include the Crimean population, around 2.5 million, and shaving off some of the 2.5 million population living in annexed populations of the Donbas region, but does include the 500,000 of Ukrainians in Ukraine-controlled areas of the Donbas. It seems the country is, of course, predominantly made up of people that identify as ethnically Ukrainian at somewhere around 80%. They're somewhere around 17% of the
17% still. That's, I mean, I know that they live a lot of Russian, but that's still impressive. I thought it would be fewer now, but yeah, I mean, there you see that these nations are very whatever you think about the war, and the war is making things different now a bit, but still, these nations are very close to each other. There's a large minority also of Ukrainians in Russia, and you see 70% of people in Ukraine. Around it's all estimated guesses and so, but a large minority of Russians in Ukraine.
Nation claims to be ethnic Russian. Keep in mind, these lines are kind of blurred because many people are also mixed between both Ukrainian and Russian parents, and many may claim either side depending on who you talk to, but this seems to be the general number. From there, the remaining population is made up of various other ethnic groups, mostly from neighboring nations like Romanians, Hungarians, Polish, Ukrainian Jews, Pontic Greeks, and yes, even a small population of Koreans.
In any case, quickly, the country uses hryvnia, it's a national currency. We use type C and
I have never heard of this currency before. Interesting. This in the bracelet at the end, the thing, it looks interesting.
The country uses hryvnia, it's a national currency. We use type C and F block outlet, and we drive on the right side of the road.
In Ukraine, the official language obviously is Ukrainian, an East Slavic language descended out of the medieval Ruthenian language.
Russian, it's also common spoken secondary language obviously it was introduced during the Russian Imperial era and Soviet Union.
Also, there's Suzyk. What is Suzyk? Explain.
Suzyk is my first language actually, with which I grew up. It's a kind of mix of Ukrainian and Russian, but also have a lot of different words which doesn't exist anywhere else.
Since 2014.
That's also funny. It's an interesting mixed language, maybe. Allied languages. It's interesting.
A lot more people have just started speaking Ukrainian, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they kind of...
Yeah, right? I still continue speak in Suzyk with my family, like mom, dads, and my best friends. But Ukrainian, it's more common language what you use in the country. It's obviously changed.
The closest languages you guys can understand are probably Belarusian and Polish, maybe? Or?
Yeah, I think like if anyone speak in Belarusian, Polish, Czech language, you can understand easily.
Oh, you can understand Czech too?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Speaking of which, near about 3/4 of all Ukrainians claim to be affiliated with the Eastern Orthodox Church, and then 10% being Catholic.
Mostly in the western part, yeah,
yes,
like by
yes.
Lviv.
And the southern part is Muslim.
Now, there are quite a few regional customs between Ukrainians, like, you know, you have the Hutsul Ukrainians and the Carpathians, and you have the Bukovina Ukrainians, but nothing exemplifies the Ukrainian identity more than the Cossack spirit, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. What is a Cossack?
Cossacks eventually mean freemen. It's actually people who doesn't want to be part of Polish, Lithuanian, and also Russian Empire. They was made from exiles from both places and want to build free society from monarchy.
Kind of sounds like a country of just adventurous people.
Yes.
A neutral country like Switzerland, or that's what they wanted to be at some part of history.
The exact origins are disputed, but in a nutshell, they stem from semi-nomadic peoples in the Pontic steppe and Caspian steppe regions somewhere around the 13th century after all that crazy shit with the Mongols went down.
Oh, and I think the peak of the Cossacks culture was when the Bogdan Khmelnytsky was in power, because he established the border and capital.
They were right in between two major empires, the Russians and the Polish-Lithuanians, and when said states saw these Cossacks, it was like, those Cossacks are very rough and militaristic, and they're like very hell-bent on maintaining their autonomy.
Why don't we use that to our advantage?
How so?
They love fighting, so why don't we just hire them as mercenaries to fight our battles while promising them autonomy?
I mean, I really do want to expand past the Urals, and you have that whole beef with the Ottoman empires.
Right, right.
Wait, don't we hate each other too?
Hello and welcome to a small in-between video. It's not about geography no kata. I already made a reaction about geography no kata. And the cut you experience right now is also, I mean, the reason why there is a cut is because in the recording there is something wrong, and I may have to make this cut. And I thought then also to myself, I want to make this a reaction to the Ukrainian-Russia conflict video in 10 minutes. As you will experience after the whole reaction you are watching right now, I will decide not to watch this and just put a link in the description. Of course, there will be still a link in the description, but I will also react to it, because I think it's just very important and awesome and good made and well done. So here we are. The Ukraine-Russia conflict in 10 minutes. I have to say again, I don't support either side of the most arguments. I can see and I understand why many Russians consider Crimea being a part of their country, and I also can probably understand some of the arguments from Ukraine. So I have to say again that a ceasefire in the conflict is right now for me, I think, the most important thing to do, and then having this peace talks, and then you can talk about everything. And you should be able to talk about everything and not from the beginning say, this are my demands and I don't accept anything from the other side. So that's not how diplomacy works. And I think only through diplomacy we can reach peace in this conflict. But that's also just my opinion as a pacifist. If you are more on the, war is a good thing and can be a good thing side of the argument, then write down in the comments what you think. I think advocating for peace is the most important thing at first, and I for myself, if a neighboring country or any other country would invade my country, would much further like to see a part of my country leaving my country. For example, Bravia, if Austria attacks us, unlikely, but hey, it's just an example, then I would much further live under Austrian occupation than risk to die in a war. So I don't think that a war is in any case a good solution. There is no such a thing as a good war, as a justifiable good war to fight. War is only reached through propaganda. So by making people believe it is a good thing they die for, and then lying to them and telling them any stories, so they think, yeah, I want to die, I want to fight for my motherland, for my home country. So I think propaganda is the most important thing in the war. for people who like wars and to yeah. But I watched now this video. I hope you will enjoy it. After this video, we will just continue, hopefully when it works, with the normal reaction. I hope the recording is not broken from this point of time on where you where it stopped. But now this video. I am a pacifist, and that's actually the most important thing. And what is now the result of the peace talks in between Russia and Ukraine doesn't matter for me. Whether now Crimea belongs to Ukraine or to Russia, Donetsk or Luhansk belonging to Russia or to Ukraine, it doesn't matter as long as there is peace. For Crimea and also for other regions, I think what the people want in these regions is most important, and maybe the best solution would now be to have these regions controlled by some kind of United Nations gremium or organization or something like this, and then in the future, in 20 years or so, make another referendum or so. I don't know, but the most important thing for right now would be a ceasefire. And the best thing a soldier can do, as I will also explain later, is to lay down his weapon and refuse to fight. Then the leaders of the countries, in this case Zelensky and Putin, are forced to negotiate because their soldiers refuse to fight. It's in any war in the world always the best thing a soldier can do. Refuse to fight and break through the propaganda and see that the people, the soldiers from the other side, are also just humans which are most likely don't want to fight and are forced to fight in this senseless, stupid war. And then fight together with the soldiers of the other side for peace by striking, by refusing to fight. Like the workers in the company also refuse to work if they don't have good salary or so, and then strike and fight together for better working conditions. The soldiers of both sides of any war should, in the ideal world, in the best world, okay, in the ideal world, there would not be any war at all, but in a situation where a war breaks out, should that's the best thing a soldier can always do: refuse to fight, solidarity with his the soldiers from the other country, other side, whether it's now a civil war or interstate war, fight together with the soldier for peace and force the leaders to negotiate. But now we watch this video. It is great. Yeah, let's start. A while back, I asked my Ukrainian and Russian subscribers to help me understand the Russian-Ukrainian conflict better. I wanted to do this because I have only been fed American Western media narratives, and I had to investigate further. I think he did a really great job with this video. Part of my job is to understand things from all vantage points, regardless of whether I disagree or dislike what is being said. I took notes on what many of you guys have said in emails, comments and replies, and did my best to look into said claims. Clearly the Russian-Ukrainian conflict is incredibly complicated and has so many layers of nuance that most people aren't aware of. I even was not aware about many of the things he was saying now, but I really respect him for doing this and for investigating this deep and making this video. A very great job. If you watch this per chance, Paul, then big respect to you. I really respect you for this. It's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm not sure about his name. I think it was Paul. Maybe I'm wrong. Even this video doesn't scratch the surface, but I tried my best to condense it as much as possible with as many important key points of discussion. So yeah, let's start. It's awesome.
Oh, hey, Ukraine. What? Are we seriously gonna get into this now? Get into what? I don't know. Haven't you been watching the news recently? Oh yeah, and how incredibly biased it is? Bias? I mean, coming from the state-controlled media empire with UN representatives that accuse the West and Ukraine of using genetically enhanced combat mosquitoes against Russia? I mean, not like biological warfare is a new thing. Look, we're at war right now. I shouldn't even be talking to you. Okay, first of all, special operation, not war. Second, oh, so now you just want to stay quiet and just listen to your little NATO friends that say they care so much about you when half of them probably couldn't even pinpoint Ukraine on the map before all this happened. Special operation, are you kidding me? You mean the one where you said you were gonna free us Ukrainians from all the neo-Nazis that rule our country? Yeah, because your country is run by neo-Nazis and fascists. Zelensky is literally Jewish, descended from Holocaust victims, and you're calling him a Nazi. There were Jews sympathetic to the Nazis in World War II as well, and plus it's not like he's a super devout practicing Jew. You guys literally just call anything you don't like a Nazi or a fascist. Yeah, because we fought against Nazis and neo-fascists, so we know how to call them out. Well, then you're just really bad at it. Oh, don't act like you're so sweet and innocent. Your country was riddled with corruption since independence, and your politicians have been known on record for numerous bribery scandals involving oligarchs and the mafia. What was it, in 2018, the Council of Europe even listed you as like the most corrupt country in Europe? Yeah. After you being number one. Yeah, we've had our corruption and drama. Thankfully, we're going through a corruption purge right now. In any case, most of our corrupt leaders were tied to former Soviet nomenclatura, which tied back to you anyway. Back to us? You're the one that totally went back on half of the agreements that we made in the 90s after your independence. Lisbon Protocol, Budapest Memorandum, the Russia-Ukraine Friendship Treaty. What are you talking about? You broke them. In fact, part of our agreement was for you to formally acknowledge us and promise to never attack us after we gave our nuclear weapons back to you in the Budapest Memorandum, which quite frankly may have been one of our biggest mistakes in retrospect. Yeah, never attack except in the case of self-defense, otherwise in accordance with the Charter of the UN, which is why we had to initiate on your attacks on ethnic Russians after the Euromaidan protests led to anti-Russian sentiments and killings in the Donbas and Crimean regions. Oh, okay. You want to bring this back to 2014? Okay, you want to do this? Okay, let's do it. Going back to the Yanukovych years? Yeah, we hated him. He was your little dictator puppet that refused to sign the EU Association of Free Trade Agreement, calling for violent action against the protesters. Some of your people hated him. There were also pro-Yanukovych protests as well, and your government was just as violent against them. Yeah, not at all to the same scale, and then you used this as a conduit to justify your invasions of our east and south regions in the Donbas and Crimea. Yeah, these primarily ethnic Russians wanted us to help. There's a reason they became separatists. I mean, think about it. They didn't like all the corrupt policies that your government was either forcing upon them or neglected upon them, which pretty much started immediately after your independence. Hell, you closed down half of all the state-owned factories in the Donbas, and then they became a gray industrial wasteland. Okay, yes, in the earlier years, we probably could have put more focus on building those areas up. Yeah, you could have. But during independence, every single one of those areas voted to become integrated with Ukraine and break up with the former USSR. They became an agreed part of our country. Yeah, there are so many illegitimacies with all those actions, like the traitorous Khrushchev who handed over Crimea in '54 from the Russian SFSR to the Ukraine SSR. I mean, there were only 13 out of the 27 members of the Soviet Presidium that were present. It was unconstitutional. No, it was handed over because it made sense. Our country is literally connected to them via peninsula. We also have a much longer history and culture tied into that region with our Zaporizhian Cossacks that interacted with the locals when they were under the Tatar Khanate. I mean, guys, can I say something? I mean, most of us ethnic Tatars were deported during the Soviet... Not now. I mean, how can you even call it your country when you neglect it and the people want separation, calling us in? That doesn't mean it's your country. I'm not claiming it's my country. I'm saying that it's a region that is asking for our intervention to separate from you. Okay, first of all, no, not everybody in those regions were asking for your intervention. Second, even if they were, that's not your prerogative to intervene or invade. You agreed to accept our borders upon the memorandum, and it's still our country. Yeah, is it really though when you become the suspiciously aggressive one by disregarding our diplomacy by entertaining agreements with the neo-colonialists like the EU and NATO? I'm the aggressive one? When did I ever attack you? Not directly me, but you agreed to give all citizens, regardless of nationality or other differences, equal rights and freedoms, which you've denied many in the Donbas, so we take that as breaking the Belozheva Accords. Plus, you're really cozying up to those neo-imperialists, the NATO and the EU. They want to make you their little slave, especially after all the war debt that you'll incur. Who's to say that they won't try to make you attack us? Seriously, suddenly now you want to act like you're some kind of advocate for equal rights amongst marginalized groups? Oh, but in this case you would because they're ethnic Russians, so that makes sense. Secondly, seriously, you really think I would attack you? Yeah, they broke the agreement during the Gorbachev-Bush meetings in which NATO was not to expand any further east after the unification of East and West Germany. Now they've completely encroached upon our territory, even touching our borders in like the Baltics. How is that not concerning to you? That actually wasn't part of the agreement. Okay, although the thought was brought up and talked about, there was no statement or paperwork solidifying or agreeing upon that claim. Please bring it up if you would like. Show us. Show us where in the statements does it say that it's not allowed. Plus, every member of NATO voted to join and was assessed by the current members. Nobody was forced to join NATO, and quite frankly, most of the Warsaw Pact knew what it was like to be under your sphere of influence and switched right away. What do you think that says about you? You were pretty much in the same boat as us, and at the end of the day, NATO hates us, and they keep creeping closer and closer. I mean, how do you think the US would feel if we had bases in Mexico and Canada surveilling everything and pointing missiles at their direction? They would probably react aggressively too, and you are getting closer to them. One day we truly believe the West wants to attack and take over Russia. It's already evident in the NATO expansion. We're pushed up against the wall. Oh my goodness, you're actually trying to victimize yourself right now. Okay, you are paranoid, clearly. Really? Because we know what it's like to dissolve and give the West a chance. We tried that in the 90s and it blew up in our faces. Everybody in the West was like trying to pick at Russia like vultures on a dying corpse. We were struggling and suffering at the hands of the supposed fake smiling West, and soon you will too. We do what we do and say what we say because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. I know what it's like to be under you for 400 years, and at this point anything is better. This isn't even about 2022 or 2014 or 2008 or 1991, is it? Yeah, first thing I can agree with you on. Ultimately, why are you acting this way? Just so against us. Because it's like you don't even see us as Ukraine. It's like you just see us as like an extension of Greater Russia. Yeah, well, I mean, the Treaty of Pereyaslav in 1654 kind of meant something. It was kind of like a big unifying moment. Well, yeah, on paper, our Ukrainian Cossacks pledged allegiance to the Tsar of Russia during all those complicated wars with the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. That didn't mean we lost our sense of being Ukrainian. Yeah, but we are East Slavs. We're all descended from the same ancestry. We're supposed to be family. But you can't just say that. Yes, we have the same roots, but you guys went off and became something completely different. Oh my god, yeah, like minute, minuscule differences. No, like an entire plethora of differences. For one, we speak a different language. Yeah, within the same East Slavic branch of languages related to ours. You guys can barely understand us when we talk. In fact, we have more mutual intelligibility with the Polish language than with yours. Yeah, thanks to all those loan words that the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth put on you, which worked out so well in the past. Seriously, like even culturally and like even phenotype-wise, you guys have had more cultural roots related to the Uralic and Ugric peoples, whereas we are more like Pannonian Basin, Eurasian, steppe, Western European influence. Okay, so yeah, you had Zaporizhian Cossacks, we had Don Cossacks. Your Vishivankas look similar to our Rubakas. Your Petrikivka painting style is basically our Jostovo. Yeah, and where do you think you got half of all that stuff from? A lot of that was just stuff we started. Hell, people think borscht is a Russian dish. Fabergé eggs were basically just inspired from our pisanki designs. Let's just be honest though, from an outside perspective, most people couldn't even tell us apart. Yeah, because you spent centuries Russifying everything you came in contact with. Most of the republics didn't even have a choice, and many of their populations were either displaced or don't even get started on the Holodomor. Okay, yes, we know that the Stalin years were messed up, and most Russians acknowledge that, but we have to go back to the roots. No, you can't just keep throwing the East Slav Brotherhood thing. It's like from the very onset of your Moscovia or Proto-Russian identity, it's like your leaders frivolously studied the past and tried to recreate some kind of like new Roman Empire. You even put a version of the Byzantine double-headed eagle on your coat of arms, and the word Tsar is just a derivative of Caesar. It's like we all started in the same place, but then you guys just went off and became this huge monster. We are not the monster. The West is the imperialist, and we fear that they will just make you more and more of our enemy as they take your life away from you. You fear that they will take life away from us? I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but I mean, honestly, it just kind of seems like your whole position is about regretting political decisions made in the past and deciding to delegitimizing them and wanting to go back on what was already established. Because sometimes you have to fix what was wrongly established. It was never broken. Yes, it was! So, like, can you guys, like, ever be friends again?
I'm back. I will probably turn off my microphone on the segment when the video was running. It was just 10 minutes and 1 second. Awesome content. So, from the first moment until the last moment, it was awesome. The end was perfect, wonderful. From can you ever be friends again? And the way both looked at each other, and I think it was Burkina Faso, by the way, the flag. Maybe I'm stupid, and it was another country, but which I've asked this at the end. It is just, but it's an amazing video. I needed to have this inside the episode. I think I also made some extra content before even the video started, enough that the percentage of my content in comparison to the content of Geography Now is good enough for this for the reaction. Also, if you consider that there is another 20 minutes or so coming after this in the real reaction, but it is just ultra amazing, and I like it very much. This other video here I also recommend. Maybe I will also make a reaction to this, but not now. It is from a Ukrainian pacifist, and it's a year ago, so it was maybe from March, or it was shortly after the invasion started. So it is a while ago, but it is amazing also, and I have definitely a link in the description. I recommend to you watching it. As I said, it is from a Ukrainian pacifist. In Ukraine, he is in Kiev at the time he makes this video. So if you don't want to listen to anything I say, or don't want to listen to anything, it's not definitely not pro-Russian. It is a Ukrainian guy in Ukraine, a pacifist just like me, but still he has some very good points, and I like this video also very much. So I will have a link in the description, and I think we should now return. I will also have a link to the video with the Ukraine-Russian conflict in 10 minutes. You can watch it yourself. You can give it a like. I really liked it very much. It was amazing. One of the best videos I ever had about this conflict, and I'm so happy that he did this. I don't know. After months and months just listening and sometimes hearing about how here it is talked about this, and Western propaganda. I mean, we are very much pro-Ukraine in Germany, and also probably in the United States and other countries in the Western Hemisphere, at least in Europe and North America. We are all very pro-Ukrainian, so we don't have many of the points that Russia brought up here in this video, or he brought up for Russia. But yeah, so it was very amazing and interesting and educating. I didn't know much of this, but interesting. If you are from Ukraine, if you are from Russia, please write also some more information for me in the comments. We can talk about this conflict, and you can bring up your points. And either side points. So Russian can bring their points, and Ukrainian their points. I love to read them. I look forward. And now we hopefully continue with the video reaction. Thank you. In between, it is a day later, so I also will upload the entire video today after midnight. So look forward for this.
Long story short, but Cossacks have always been a central part of Ukrainian culture and identity.
Wait, don't you guys also have like a Cossack cartoon like called Kozaki?
Yes, it's three Cossacks, they always fight with Russians.
In any case, you need to be strong and fierce when competing in sports. So with that, let's jump over to the sports part with Art.
Merry Christmas, even though it's not Christmas. All right, let's get started. Take him. Alrighty, peeps, let's get Ukraine in the membrane. You know that song, like, insane in the membrane? Never mind. Ukraine and sports have always gone hand in hand. So much so that in fact they have created their own, like, combat hopak, a martial art that was invented by Zaporizhian Cossacks that mixed traditional dance with fighting. There's also traditional hopak saber fencing and wrestling.
You played a Cossack in the Russia episode, remember?
I do remember that. Yeah, I was really pent up and angry. Ukraine has competed in every Olympics as an independent nation since 1994. Since then, Ukraine has racked up nearly 150 medals at the Olympics as of 2023 with 38 golds, the best events being gymnastics and wrestling. Larissa Latinia is a total national treasure. Competing under the Soviet Union, out of any male or female, she held the record for 48 years with the most gold medals at 9, and overall she won 18 medals over the course of 3 Olympic Games. In terms of wrestling, Ukraine has many champions, but a huge deal in wrestling would be Jean Belianuk, who got the gold in Tokyo Olympics, and we got him on the show. Barbs was actually able to interview him in the Ukraine episode here. Here's a quick snapshot right here.
Hey everyone, my name is Jean Belianuk. I'm Afro-Ukrainian. I'm Olympic champion in Greco-Roman wrestling and member of Ukrainian parliament. My first big win it was first place in European Championship. Mr. Zelensky, we know each other before that, and he told me about he want to invite me.
What was your life like growing up in Ukraine?
I was born in 1991 when Soviet Union
Just collapsed.
Yes, yes. And new country, new rules, and that's why. And I was only with my mom. Guys with my type of skin,
Of course,
yeah, and different difficult situation. But
do Ukrainian people generally accept you?
Ukrainian people very tolerant, you know, and I have a lot of friends. School of life, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why maybe I decided to go into Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, and now you're in the parliament. Now you're famous gold medalist. Are you happy?
Yes, I feel honored. After Barack Obama,
You feel like Ukrainian Barack Obama.
Like, yes.
Thank you so much, man, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jean. Such a cool guy. Anyway, there's so many other things that we could...
Interesting that he spoke with someone from the Ukrainian parliament. That's interesting.
highlight in Ukrainian athletics, like the boxing brothers, the two-time world's strongest man winner, that dude who broke over 35 pole vaulting records. But at the end of the day, you must mention FC Dynamo, Ukraine's most popular football club. They have won dozens of USSR championships and UEFA cups. And number 7, the Ukrainian dream, Andrei Shevchenko, who won awards for the best player and best scorer. He won 2 bronze and 1 golden ball award. Today he's doing good and he enjoys playing golf in his spare time. Don't we all just want that? To look back at all the glory and just play golf in our spare time.
Get out of here, Art.
That's right, giving up on life, baby. I'm gonna play some golf.
Thank you, Art.
It's important to mention the acrobatic school in Ukraine. It's also really big.
Yeah, like Ukraine's Got Talent, there's always like 50 different acrobatic acts or something. Anyway, so many things about the culture. You know what's gonna happen. Hannah is gonna take over that. Random Hannah. Take it away with the culture segment.
It's the culture segment. It's insane. We're in Ukraine. So what are some of the things that are distinctly Ukrainian? For one, you have to kind of look at the roots. Historically, Ukraine's had a significantly different climate and different...
Generally, however, Russia does have a bit
rich soil from the Russian neighbors. This influenced so many things in daily life, like traditional Ukrainian white clay thatched roof houses versus wooden Russian cabins. Many historians also attribute this as being a factor to why Ukrainians have a more individualistic based culture, due to the fact that single families could be completely self-sufficient on their own land, as opposed to the more collectivist Russians that had fewer immediate access to resources and needed to depend on a larger community to operate. It's a theory, make of it what you will. In any case, the national dress is the vyshyvanka, and the embroidery has... Make of it what you will. In any...
I have to take a look on this dress. It looks nice. It looks not ultra special, but it looks nice.
Case, the national dress is the vyshyvanka, and the embroidery has very specific motives and patterns and are indicative to the specific regions the wearer is from. Many of these patterns are rooted in ancient Slavic mythology and beliefs, which are to some extent still practiced and synchronized with the predominant Eastern Orthodox tradition. Ukrainians have also been huge on inventions and accomplishments. Things like CDs, bloodless blood tests, vaccines against the plague and cholera, postcodes, kerosene lamps, and the first kidney transplant artist plant was performed in Ukraine as well. The list goes on. Of course, Ukraine has never shied away from the arts. You might find the whimsical opishina ceramics in gift shops, usually depicting lions and rams. If that's not your thing, maybe go for some Petri Kiva. Literature is a huge pastime too. This guy is considered the first modern Ukrainian author. Taras Shevchenko is a national poet, and everyone knows Lesya Ukraina was one of the most famous writers that pushed for Ukrainian independence. Today, numerous monuments and 6 museums are dedicated to her honor, and she is even on their money. Many artists, filmmakers, and writers were suppressed during the Soviet times. Nonetheless, Ukrainian cinema has lived on. No movie more world-renowned and critically acclaimed than Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors. Yeah, if you want to see real authentic Ukrainian customs and traditions, Ukrainians will tell you to go to the Carpathian. That's where all the original stuff goes down. And another original thing Ukraine has is music. And let's see who's taking over the music segment, because these days it switches off a lot. Honestly, anyone's better than Keith.
Woo! Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Keith here. So I haven't been able to have enough time to even come up with a script, so our good friend Yvonne is gonna take it over. Also, I want to say a big shout out to the metal band Ginger. I love you guys. And here is Yvonne with the music. Later, dogs.
Hey, most of Ukrainians believe that musicality is one of the main features of Ukrainians. The oldest musical instruments found in Ukrainian territories is triskachka and flutes from Mammoth, dated 20,000 years old. There are Ukrainian musical instruments like lira, kobza, truby, surmy, litavri, sopilka, and so on. Pagan rituals still took place in Ukraine, such as kupola, malanka, so a lot of Ukrainian songs have pagan elements. Also, there was dumy, historical songs about knyaz, wars, etc. Dumy had been performed by kobzars. They played bandura or kobza while singing, but during the Soviet era, almost all of the kobzars were killed. Kobza and bandura were prohibited and confiscated, just like literally burned. Maxim Berezovsky, born 1745, basically the Ukrainian Mozart. Semen Gulak-Artemovsky, author of one of the first Ukrainian opera, Zaporozhye Zadunaim. Mykola Lysenko, born 1842, called the father of Ukrainian music. He also a father of USSR and Russia anthem, because his composition Epic Fragment was stolen and rearranged. Igor Stravinsky probably had a relationship with a Coco Chanel, has his own star in Hollywood. Mykola Leontovich, composer of probably one of the most known Ukrainian songs, Shedrik, or you may know it as Carol of the Bells. But Mykola hasn't seen his success because USSR's Bolsheviks killed him in 1921. Volodymyr Ivasyuk, born 1949, writer of the best Ukrainian hit songs of that time, Chervona Ruta, Vdaleky Ori, was killed by KGB. Okay, Ukraine has taken part in the Eurovision contest since 2003, and even 3 times we took the first place. Ruslana in 2004, Jamala in 2016, and Kalush in 2022. So that's kinda all I gotta say. Barbs?
Thank you, Yvonne. I remember one time, though, I tried to whistle in a car, and the guy yelled at me. He's like, don't whistle in a car.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, whistle, it's in Ukrainian culture, it's kind of like for bad luck.
I have heard similar things also with whistling being something for bad luck from on the Philippines, and from the Philippines episode, when I'm not mistaken. Or wasn't it on the Philippines it meant when you whistle you turn into a werewolf? I'm not sure, but there was also something with whistling. Let's continue.
Covered so much about the culture and the people and the demographics of Ukraine. Guess what? There's other people in this world, and Ukraine seems to interact with them, which...
Let's see. After this video ends, there will be also more. I have to react to another video. I want to react to another video, and I want to read this article about conscription in Ukraine right now.
Brings us to the last segment.
But I mean, this video from the last segment into this segment I have seen before, I think. Maybe it's also a bit new. I'm not sure, but yeah. Let's see. You see, there are some of the flags you recognize, like, I think this is France, here's Japan, South Korea. Interesting.
So Ukraine and friends around the world, it's just like their history. It's ever complicated and shifting.
Always shifting, yes.
But here's the animation. Let's get into it.
First of all, to this date, it seems their number one foreign policy objective has been integration with the Euro-Atlantic zone. In 2018, they officially ended their participation with the CIS, further cutting ties to Russia and other members, but mostly Russia. Outside of Europe, Canada was not only the second country in the world to recognize their independence, but actually has the largest Ukrainian diaspora at somewhere around 1.5 million, mostly concentrated in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Today, they have a free trade agreement, and many cities are sister cities, including Kyiv with Toronto. The USA has the second largest Ukrainian diaspora in the Americas and has also been a key
in the Americas, because I thought the largest diaspora of Ukrainians is Russia. I'm not sure. Maybe it is also not. I thought it was.
Ally in more recent times, as they, along with other countries, have pledged billions of dollars in aid during war times. High-level visits have been conducted by both heads of state, and overall relations have grown since the 2010s. In Asia, it seems Turkey and China have an interesting role. Both have expressed interest in helping mediate somewhat in conflict. However, for the most part, they've been low-key and just business-oriented. Since 2008, China surpassed Russia as becoming Ukraine's largest trade partner, and in 2022, Chinese ambassador to Ukraine Fan Xianrong is quoted for saying that China will support Ukraine both economically and politically despite conflict times. Turkey is an interesting one. Not only have they both had historically strained relations with Russians, for Turks dating back to Ottoman times, but Erdogan is also explicitly quoted for telling former President Poroshenko that Turkey would not recognize the annexation of Crimea. In addition, they are a major partner in Ukrainian exports across the Black Sea and do lots of business with them. Back in Europe, though, we get a more clear image of where the closest ties lie today. And since 2022, the EU has granted them candidate status for accession to the EU, and Zelensky signed an EU membership application. Since then, they have also joined NATO's Enhanced Opportunity Partner Interoperability Program and have submitted an application for membership as well. Every Baltic country and Finland have expressed huge support for Ukraine since the onset of the war. Each side has a period of time understanding conflict with Russia. Their EU neighbors, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Germany, Czechia, and non-EU Moldova have all taken in many refugees during the war and have pledged support for Ukraine. The UK is a huge supporter. Immediately when you enter any British airport, you will see signs set up in the Ukrainian language offering assistance for refugees. In addition, they have pledged aid to Ukraine and are even in a trilateral security pact with Ukraine. When it comes to their best friend, almost every Ukrainian I have talked to has said Poland, which is the third member of the Trilateral Security Pact. Poland has taken in the most refugees since the war. They share a bond based on history of understanding what life was like either under the Soviets or the Warsaw Pact. Their languages are pretty intelligible, and integration of Ukrainians into Polish society is incredibly easy for them. All of the drama of the former Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth years centuries ago is pretty much over, and they've moved on. Ukrainians and Poles will always be there for each other.
In conclusion, Misha, you are the Ukrainian. I'm gonna give this to you, and I'm gonna head out. See ya.
Ukraine, it's not just border. Ukraine, it's people, soul, culture. As long as Ukrainian people exist and culture, there will be always Ukraine. And we will always fight for our freedom and independence. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Misha, for being in this episode. Really appreciate it. Stay tuned. United Arab Emirates is coming up next.
So yeah, I've related to geography of Ukraine. We will continue with this video. It is just going to get 1 hour long, but yeah, I have a few more things I want to react to, and it is interesting. I mean, it was more neutral. Yeah, it was much more neutral than I would have expected from other people, and therefore it is a very good video. I like it very much. I will like it, yes. I should like it right now. Yeah, I like it. So yeah, it is very awesome, very nice, very great. I recommend to you to watch it yourself if you want, or watch it another time. At his channel, or maybe you have done it also before. So that's great. Do this, support him. I also support him on Patreon. This guy. So do it as well if you want, if you can afford this, and yeah. So I don't know how long this entire video will not be. I think it will be over 1.5 hours long, but yeah. I hope you enjoyed this. This is the outro, now the final outro of the video. It is a day later, and I record this extra after already finishing all the editing. So I will now just need to cut everything together, and the whole video will be complete. I think it will be over 1.5 hours long. So I hope you enjoyed this very long video about Ukraine, my opinion about the certain aspects of the conflict and the war you have maybe heard now. Otherwise, just write in the comments. You can ask me anything you want, and we can talk about anything which is up on your mind. Of course, also just write some comments down in the below the video. Like the video if you enjoyed this. Subscribe to my channel if you want to support me. It would really help me out a lot and mean a lot to me. I enjoy making these videos, and therefore, yeah, if you have other ideas or other videos you want me to react to, just write a link down in the comments, and yeah, recommend me something if you want, or other countries you want me to react to, or completely different videos. It may even not have something to do with the geography. If there's something interesting, recommend it to me, and I will take a look on it and consider whether or not I want to react to it or make a video about it. But yeah, I really wish there will be soon a peace between Russia and Ukraine. I think the people from both countries don't hate each other. At least most people. Some of course, but I think the majority of both countries people don't hate each other. So the war is completely unnecessary and useless and senseless and stupid. So I hope there will be peace soon, and both people groups can live together and live next to each other again peacefully, marry each other, and have a wonderful, bright future for all of them. So yeah, I hope this peace will be will come soon. So that's my opinion as a pacifist. So yeah, I want to visit theoretically both countries, Russia and Ukraine, at some point. For both countries and for both visits, there must be at first certain conditions fulfilled, of course. But yeah, I also would like to learn Ukrainian and Russian, both languages. See where they are so different and what is similar. So and now I can learn both languages on Duolingo. I learn also other languages there, so I will do this maybe. Take a look at the languages. Just stay friendly in the comments, and also try to understand the other side. I think the video from Geography Now where he made this, talking from the Ukrainian perspective and Russian perspective, which is also in my reaction, is a very good way of trying to understand the other side if you are on the one side or on the other side. So it makes it really easy to understand the other side. And for people who are on outside and who don't understand much about the conflict, it's also great. Like for me, they understand much more of the backgrounds of the history and so. A really great video. Also, the video from Geography Now, the Ukraine episode, was also awesome, and I liked it very much. So yeah, this is the outro. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.